Hi, children! Oh, woohoo! It is the end of term. You have finished your homeschooling. Well done. Big clap. Give yourself a big clap. Yes. And you parents, give yourself a big clap. Big pat on the back as well. Well done. You have got to the end of term. You have got through homeschooling, which has been tough. I mean, who would have thought they'd have changed math? Hey? Oh, that was tough, trying to teach math in a completely different way to the way that we've learnt. So I thought, as we have finished school and we're coming into the summer holidays, we would celebrate and we talk about festivals and feasts today. So, are there festivals and feasts in the Bible? Yes, there are. Yes, there are lots of festivals and feasts in the Bible. So the first kind of, not really a festival, but we hear about in Genesis at the beginning of everything that it's a poem and a description of how God made the world. And on the seventh day was the Sabbath, and he rested and he looked at what he had created. And so he calls the Israelites or the Jewish people to have a Sabbath, and their Sabbath is a Saturday. And that tradition has continued throughout Christianity, and we have our Sabbath on a Sunday. We don't work, and we go and we worship God. We might go to a church, or we might do it in our own home. There's lots of different ways that different people worship. At the minute, most people are watching videos or live streaming of their church services. So that's one way that we celebrate each week. We take a day of rest on a Saturday or a Sunday, or if you're working weekends, you might take it during the week. And you don't work and you just appreciate things around you and be thankful for the things that you've got and for a rest, really. So, are there other festivals? Yes, there's yearly festivals. So, when God brought the Israelites out of Egypt, away from slavery, he gave them some festivals. So I'm going to use my storyboard here to kind of explain those to you. So here's my man in the field. He's working hard with his wheat. And the reason I've got him is because most of the festivals are during the harvest time. So from March right up to about October, November. And depending on the moon, they change each year. There are 7 of them. So the first of these festivals is called Passover. And that celebrates the Israelites coming out of Egypt, and they present a lamb, or they give a lamb to God on this particular day. So they don't work, they stop working, and they go and visit, or they used to go and visit the temple in Jerusalem and take a lamb without any marks or anything to the temple, to God, and worship God. So the day after, and for 7 days after the Passover and the giving of the sheep at the temple, we'll leave him there, is the festival of unleavened bread. And unleavened bread is bread that is very flat. Can you see that there, that little brown? It's not a baguette, it's actually like a flat bread. And the reason it's flat is because the Israelites, when they were leaving Egypt, they didn't have time to make bread with yeast. So they had to quickly make the bread to take with them on their long journey from Egypt back to Israel. So the bread was flat, because with yeast you have to give it time to rise. So they celebrate with, they sweep their houses, they get rid of all the yeast and everything, and it's a time where flatbread is eaten and there is no yeast in their bread. And again, that is round about the time of Easter, and that's the meal that Jesus celebrates with the bread and the wine on what we call the Last Supper. And that's where our celebration of communion comes from. All these celebrations and festivals, eh? So that's the Festival of Unleavened Bread, again, March or April, just after the Passover. Then there's the celebration of the first fruits. And that's when they bring to the temple the first wheat. There we go. So there's the wheat he's brought. And they have wheat. And they wave the wheat. There he is waving it. There we go. And they give it to the priest. And then the priest will wave it on the Sabbath day. And again, there's a Sabbath day in there where they rest, they don't do any work, and they worship and thank God. Are you getting the theme here? Lots of days off and worshipping and thanking God. So then we have, we call it Pentecost. It is called, bear with me, the Feast of Weeks. Sorry about that. The Feast of Weeks. And then that's when they celebrate the fruit. So there's a huge bunch of grapes he's going to bring to the temple again. And again, there's a Sabbath and a celebration. And Pentecost is the time that we celebrate when the Holy Spirit came upon. And we talked about that the other week. Holy Spirit comes on the disciples and they start talking in different languages and telling people about Jesus. So again, that's the same time as us. That's about May or June time. And then now in September, at the end of the harvest, when everything's being collected in, they have the Festival of Trumpets. There's my trumpet. He's blowing his trumpet. And this is a time where they rest from the harvest and they worship God and thank God with trumpets. And there's lots of other reasons to this that you can research, children, but I'm looking at what they celebrate and how they celebrate today. So there's our trumpet. There we go. So they went to the temple and they celebrated with trumpets and worshipped God and thanked God. Then they have the festival. This is a brush here. I don't know if you can see. There's little bristles there. They have the Festival of Atonement, which is a time where everything is cleansed and clean, which is why I've got a brush here. And they would rest and they would again worship God and thank God. And the final festival that God gave them, so there's the brush, was the Festival of Tabernacles. And a tabernacle is a hut. So here's a hut. There we go. And usually the huts would have leaves and things on, and they would be in their hut and they would eat in their hut and celebrate. They build a hut in the garden or wherever they want their hut, and they meet people and they celebrate in there. They worship God. They have a meal. So as you can see from all these festivals, it's very much about worshipping God, sharing meals, resting from work. So what's this got to do with you guys? Well, I thought saying that you have just finished your homeschooling, you could have a festival or a celebration or a feast to celebrate getting through the homeschooling. So you will need to thank God. What else will you need to do? Yes, have a feast, have some food and some drinks and things. So I thought what you could do is you could design your own party or celebration this week. So here I've got, and this is available on the website, I've got a list there of different things. So what are you going to need to do a party? Well, you're going to need to plan where your party is. So where are you going to have your party? And I don't want this to be like school. I know it looks like a lot of writing, But you can either talk about it or you could draw it or find a fun way to do this. I don't want it to be like school because school's over for now. So what place? Maybe think of 3 things. You could have it in your garden, you could have it in your house, or you could have it in the park. What day? Oh, there's some suggestions. Friday, Saturday or Sunday? Yeah, at the weekend. You could have it during the week because there's no school. So whatever day you fancy it. Then what time? Would it be better in the morning? What about lunchtime? And then you could have the food in there, or round about tea time. You could have the food at tea time. So lots of ideas there. Food. What food would you have? Oh, lots of answers there. So I think we had sausages, burgers, pizza, crisps, sweets, cake. Lots of good answers there. Yeah, maybe you can organise with your family to get some yummy food and have some cake. What about drinks? Yeah, fizzy drinks, squash, water, milk. Yeah, adults might want a beer or a wine. That'd be okay. They're celebrating too, aren't they? What else? Oh, have you got a theme? Do you want to dress up? Is it a fancy dress party? Do you want to be superheroes? Choo! That's my Spider-Man pose. Would you like to be, I don't know, film characters or your favourite Disney character? Maybe you'd like to be Minnie Mouse or who else? Donald Duck, quack, quack. Yeah, think of things like that. And then who you're going to invite to your party. Hopefully, it'll be everybody in your family that's helped you with homeschooling, and you can really celebrate that, yes, it's the end. And maybe think about, it's not on there, but maybe think about what God has helped you to do through the homeschooling. And you could design some party invitations, maybe draw some of your own or print some of these off from the website and invite some people. Or if you think, well, that's too much like schoolwork, Lottie, how about doing a great video like this? You could do a video and then WhatsApp it to all your family or just show them. So you could stand there and go, hi, come to my great celebration. Come to my feast of homeschooling, and you can celebrate all that's good about homeschooling or good about homeschooling being over, and tell them the date and the time and make it really snappy. And I'd love to see some of those. You could send me them, or maybe, send them to me. And then you could do a craft. So, shall we go and do our craft? So today we are going to make party piñatas. There you go, or piñata. I'm not quite sure how it's pronounced. So there you go. So you will need a cup or a yoghurt pot. You could possibly do it in a gravy granule, but it's rather large, so you'll need lots of sweets and small toys to fill it with. Having said that, you will need some sweets and small toys to fill your piñata with. You will need an elastic band, a pair of scissors or craft knife. Please get adults to use craft knives. A glue, a sellotape, some tissue paper, or you could use strips of paper that you've coloured in, lots of different colours, or coloured paper. And you will need 2 ribbons. So, what do we do first, Lottie? We take our yoghurt pot and with a knife or a sharp pair of scissors, make a small hole in the end for a ribbon to poke through. So I'm just going to, please get an adult to use a knife or really sharp scissors. I don't want any fingers lost again. There we go. So I've put a hole in there. Put my craft knife away. And then thread your ribbon through. You might need a bit of help from an adult just to thread it through. There we go. So I've used the end of my scissors there to thread it through. And thread the other end through. So like I'd done there, and I tied a knot in the end of it. Okay. So there we go. Got it. There we go. Pull that through. And then tie your knot in the end. There we go. Right. Pull that through. Right. Then fill your pot with your sweets. There we go. Wrapped ones are probably best, because if they pull it on, if you pull the end off on the floor, you don't want your sweets all over the floor, do you? That aren't wrapped. And then 2 little toys. I've got a Lego keyring there and a little Shopkin there as well. You could fill it with sweets or little biscuits. Animal biscuits would be great. Anything that you've really got in your cupboards. You could put some little craft things in if you like. Maybe some pom-poms or sequins and make a pretty picture with them. It doesn't have to be sweets or toys. Then take a square of paper or tissue paper and put that over your cup or yogurt pot or gravy granule pot, and get your elastic band and put that over the top to hold it in place like that. Okay. Then what you're going to do is take your other piece of ribbon and take some tape and tape that to the tissue paper like that, and this will help you to pull the end off. I like these because you don't need a big stick and you're not worried about people getting hit by the big stick. You don't need a blindfold. What we will do at the end is you'll just pull this bit off and all the toys and everything will come out. So you'd pull that bit at the end, not yet. Then what you will need to do is get some different tissue paper or paper that you've coloured in, and using your scissors do some little cuts up like that. Can you see what I'm doing there? Little cuts up like that to give it sort of the frayed look of the piñata. There we go. So it's going to look like this when you put it on, with all the little frayed bits. Then you glue. You need to be careful with the glue because it does rip the tissue paper. So very gently try and smoothly push it across like that. There. Make sure you've made little slits on all of your tissue paper. I did mine earlier. So there's the blue one going round there. And then stick it round. You could sellotape a bit as well. If you could sellotape it all if you find that the glue is ripping it all the time when you're trying to stick it, use some tape. Then with the green one, so that's already cut, I'm going to put that on the next layer, a little bit above the blue, and just sellotape that around in a second. There you go. That's it. So put some bits of tape. Here's the tape. There we go. Over the top there, one there, and one there. There we go. And then your orange bit. Oh, whoa, there we go. Nearly lost it. There we go. Stick that. Oh, there we go. Stick that there. And there you have your piñata. And then when you're ready in your party, you can decide at the time when it's your celebration, you decide when the right time is to have the piñatas, maybe at the end. Could almost be a bit like a party bag. You could make one for everyone who's coming, put different things in them, and then at the end you can say, here's your piñata, And then what you do is you pull this bit at the end here, and that pulls the tissue paper out, and then there you go. There's all your sweets and toys, and you can enjoy your sweets and play with your toys. So have great fun organising your own celebration. I'd love to see some photos or videos of what you did. And I forgot to say, play some games. You could play Pass the Parcel, you could play musical statues. Just have maybe just have a disco or something. So have a real celebration and enjoy. And next week, we're going to have a bit of a party. I'm going to try and do some party games and things. So you could dress up before you tune in next week and maybe have a drink and some snacks, and we'll do like a video party. Okay, have a great week. Relax, enjoy, and just feel free. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.